back to tonight. Now, national and world news from ITN.
From the studios of ITN, the news with Julia Sommerville.
Good evening, welcome to the programme. Tonight's headlines. Britain's freed diplomat in Peru says we weren't mistreated. Home for Christmas, the woman accused of the road rage killing. And Shearer keeps Newcastle's Premiership hopes alive. The British diplomat released from the Peruvian embassy siege talked today about his 5 days as a hostage. Roger Church said he'd been well treated by the terrorists. He was released with more than 200 others in what the guerrillas called a Christmas gesture. But as Howell Jones reports from Lima, 140 hostages are still being held.
Free to talk about his 5 days as a hostage, Roger Church spoke to reporters in Lima. Yesterday he was being held at gunpoint. Now he's looking forward to Christmas at home.
It's been a difficult few days, and I'm just glad to be able to reunite with my family before Christmas. Obviously, at this moment, my thoughts are very much with those who are still inside, the residence of the Japanese ambassador.
140 hostages are still being held in the building, though they're not being badly treated, says the diplomat.
The treatment during my time in captivity was there was no threat. Well, there was a threat in so much, of course, they were carrying arms, but at no time was anybody mistreated.
This was Mr. Church late last night, boarding a bus minutes after being set free. For many, the waiting had not been in vain. Their husbands and sons were free and would be with them at Christmas. This firewoman, Rosa Maria del Busto, was on duty at the scene, but had her mind on other things. Her father, a noted historian, was among the hostages. She waited as bus after bus carrying the freed men drove by until only one remained. He'd been released, one of the last men on the last bus.
Very, very, very happy. That's all. Very happy.
What did you say to your father?
I love you. I'm very happy that you are with us. That's all.
They were taken to hospital for a checkup, but most simply wanted to go straight home. This is the convoy to freedom for these men after days and nights spent in crowded rooms not knowing their fate. But still the fate of dozens of others hangs in the balance. Howell Jones, ITN, Lima.
Tracy Andrews, the woman accused of stabbing her fiancé to death and blaming it on road rage attackers, is back home tonight after she was granted bail. Her parents led her into their house in Worcestershire, where she'll be spending Christmas. Eric McInnes reports from Alvechurch.
Tracy Andrews, freed on bail but still facing a charge of murder. An appeal to keep her in jail failed today. She will be at home with her family for Christmas.
He is grateful to the press for the appeal that has been widely circulated and which seems to have produced a most important witness, and she is very, very grateful for that.
Tracy Andrews, tearful and tired, did not attend the court hearing. The judge at Oxford Crown Court said giving her bail was correct. She was charged on Friday with the murder of Lee Harvey, who was stabbed 37 times. Tracy Andrews was at her parents' house tonight. Her stepfather spoke briefly to reporters.
Obviously it's an emotional time now for us all, so we'd appreciate a bit of peace.
She happy to be back, though?
Yeah, very happy, yeah, we all are.
The 27-year-old must continue to live here, a condition of bail, until her next court appearance in February. Eric McInnes, ITN, Alvechurch.
Loyalist paramilitaries in Northern Ireland are under pressure tonight not to return to terrorism. It's feared that yesterday's car bomb may have marked the end of their ceasefire. The Northern Ireland Secretary Sir Patrick Mayhew cautioned against tit-for-tat violence. Here's our Ireland correspondent Joel Mervine.
The RUC band was in Belfast tonight, but these musicians were watched over by colleagues, security necessitated by the high terrorist threat. Like the IRA's, the Loyalist ceasefire may be over. One prisoner on leave said yesterday's attack was intended as a one-off, but had been inevitable.
People, I think, were resigned to it. I think people were surprised. I think, again, people were surprised that anyone would walk into a hospital ward with sick children and try to murder Nigel Dodds.
Mr. Dodds is a unionist politician, and on Friday his police bodyguard was wounded by an IRA gunman. Yesterday, a booby trap injured a leading Republican in the Ardoyne area. Neither the Loyalists nor Sinn Féin will condemn their violent allies.
There is a certain horror, which I, of course, feel as well when it's a children's hospital. But what happened in Ardoyne is equally as deadly.
Loyalists have shown they are now prepared to respond to IRA violence in kind, and today the Secretary of State warned of more attacks by the Provisionals. He told members of the security forces that continued vigilance, courage and skill were required. John Irvine, ITN, Belfast.
Safety experts have been trying to find out how a 6-year-old girl was electrocuted when she turned on the family's Christmas tree lights. Cara Weatherston from Hornsey in East Yorkshire died instantly as her brothers and sisters watched. Terry Lloyd reports.
It should have been the most joyous time of the year for the Weatherstone family as they excitedly prepared for Christmas at their home in Hornsey, East Yorkshire. The whole family was together in one room as they turned on the fairy lights draped around the tree, which had been dressed a few days earlier. 6-year-old Cara reached for the switch, but stood barefoot on a copper gas pipe as she did so. It thought the wiring was faulty and the pipe acted as an earth. The local vicar who baptised Cara 6 years ago echoed the feelings of the community.
I've seen her grow up and grow into school, and it's a tragedy. It's every parent's nightmare.
Police and electricians warned parents to check their festive illuminations.
To make sure that obviously the lights are working correctly, they're correctly wired, and if anybody should have any doubts about that, either to contact an electrician or somebody who knows what they're doing.
But for this one family, Christmas with all its lights and decorations will never have the same appeal again. Terry Lloyd, ITN.
The mother of a 9-year-old girl from Chester who's been missing since Thursday told ITN Tonight she believed her daughter could be anywhere in Britain, and she appealed for help in finding her. Police say they're increasingly concerned about Kaylee Ward's safety. From Chester, Colin Baker reports.
For the third freezing cold day, the police search for Kaylee Ward proves fruitless. There's now great concern for the whereabouts of the little girl nicknamed Oddbod who went out to buy chips 4 nights ago and disappeared. The police have asked everyone in Chester to search their gardens, outhouses and sheds. But tonight, Kaylee's mother told ITN she thought her daughter was no longer in the city.
Well, it's not just people in Chester who should everybody all over the country should be searching for her and keep looking out for her, not just in Blake and in Chester. Because I don't believe she is in Chester, I really don't.
The police have had only one unconfirmed sighting of Kaylee since she vanished last Thursday night. The portrait being painted by the police of Kaylee is an unhappy one. She was a loner, she played truant, she was prone to bouts of violence. She was 9 years old, and when she went missing last Thursday night, those closest to her didn't think to call the police for another 20 hours. The police search operation has now been scaled down until the morning, but tonight members of 2 Welsh mountain rescue teams, all volunteers, have established a base near Kaylee's school and will be carrying out their own nighttime search of fields and countryside until daylight. Colin Baker, ITN, Chester.
Lawyers representing victims of the E. coli food poisoning outbreak in Lanarkshire claim tonight that local health chiefs didn't act swiftly enough to avoid an epidemic. New tests show that the virus, which has now killed 15 people, could have been detected sooner. Harry Smith reports.
The new evidence comes from tests carried out on meat from the butcher's shop at the centre of the outbreak.